I thought this was if you guys couldn't tell by the thumbnail, if you haven't seen this thumbnail, I made the thumbnail in like the 8th inning and thought we were going to go live after a massive Orioles victory, a blowout win. Made the thumbnail. Did the Orioles get their swagger back? Let's talk about the game in two. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this. Everyone, here we go. We're gonna do this. We're gonna talk about this game in two parts. Innings 1 through 8, and then whatever we want to consider just went down in the 9th inning, but we'll get to that. So here we go. Orioles offense. Yes. So yes, Mick Lofer, hand up. This might be on me. This might be on me for making the thumbnail too early. I accept that. So innings 1 through 8. We're going to talk about the good stuff first, people. First things first, we're talking about the good stuff. The offense was absolutely on fire. You love to see it. Ryan Mountcastle. People are talking about Ryan Mountcastle in massive slump. Let's say it. Massive slump. Hyder moves him down to the lineup, usually hitting 3-4, all the way to the 7 spot. 4-hit game. 4-hit game from Mountie. If that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will. When Ryan Mountcastle's hot, he can carry this offense. We've all seen it. Another guy that I'm super impressed with since he's gotten back, Austin Hayes. Remember the guy we all wanted to get rid of? Mr. I think it was 1 for 30, 2 for 30. It was bad. It was getting bad, but he was dealing with injuries, comes back. Austin Hayes is hitting like Austin Hayes did in the first half of last year when he was an all-star. I think all of Major League Baseball right now is afraid to pitch to Gunnar Henderson. Let's just call it what it is. And I think Gunnar Henderson might hate walking more than any human being I have ever seen. I think I saw someone on Twitter say we need the exit velo of Gunnar Henderson throwing his bat after a walk. The guy hates walking. Joe, yes. The Zach Bollinger Show, welcome. But while you're here, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe. Usually there's like 4 of us, but I got to talk about this game. I mean, we all just saw what went down. Cedric Mullins, 2 hits tonight. And not just 2 hits, 2 lined up hits. Really nice off the bat. Was super happy with how he's been going. And just all around tonight, I'll get to it in a second, but all around tonight, the at-bats were just better. Mountcastle, I'll give it to him. Mountcastle might have him, but the star of the night, Jorge Mateo, 1 for 2 with a 3-run home run. He's got 2 runs and 3 RBIs, also 2 walks. I mean, when was the last time we saw Jorge out there? 2 walks, 2 runs, and 2 stolen bases. This is what we want Jorge to do. This is what we talked about earlier today on the show. Jorge brings a dynamic to this team that when he's on, it's hard to replicate what he does. You can't teach his speed. You can't teach his offense when he's hitting his base running ability. When Jorge is making an impact, he's one of the most important guys on this team and to this team's success. Anthony Santander gets a home run. I'm looking through the stats right now. It's good to see him. I really want Tony to start getting it together. You start to see those inklings. You know, if you know Tony Tater's, Anthony Santander's career, his track record, he's a guy who he's going to be in a big slump for 3 weeks. He's going to hit 180 for 3 weeks, and you got to deal with it because he's going to go on a 2-week tear where he is the reincarnation of Barry Bonds in his prime. He's just one of those players when he gets going, he is as hot can be. Let's talk about the whole offense now together. Let's talk about, I'm reading the comments. Yes, I did get, Cube, I saw you ask, Cube, I did get sort of, not really. I didn't get a no from Rip. He didn't say no, so here we are. Didn't get a yes, didn't get a no. So I took that as a yes. So let's talk about the offense as a whole. And this was something I stressed earlier today on the show. If you didn't see that live stream, go catch it. Gavin Sheets, outfielder, he DH'd tonight for the White Sox, joined us, and so did Brett Hollander in studio, who is a broadcaster for the Baltimore Orioles and Masson. So, one, when Gavin Sheets came up bases loaded as the tying run in the ninth, that was scary. But we'll get into that when we talk about the other part. Remember, for those new here right now, innings 1 through 8 and innings 9. We're talking 1 through 8 right now. We're talking the good vibes. The good vibes are here. Then we're going to dissect whatever the hell happened in inning 9. So, the offense as a whole, and it was something that I really harped on earlier today, they needed to get better quality at bats. Oh my God, look who it is. I am not alone. Kevin Ostreicher in the building. Kevin, how we doing?
Blood pressure's still coming down a little bit. I'm sure as yours is too, man. What a the umpire. The umpire's been great all season, right? We've been saying that the umpire, nothing to complain about. No complaints on the umpires, right? Not nothing. So made a great call.
Yeah, yeah. The game ended. That's all I just thought. That's why I just keep saying. I'm like, the game ended. So, Kevin, what we're doing right now is we're separating the game into two parts. Right now, we're focusing on the good vibes of innings 1 through 8, and then we're going to get to whatever the hell happened in the ninth. And I was just talking about how much earlier today on the live show we talked about we wanted to see the hitters get better at bats, start to extend at bats. No more 2-3 pitch at bats where they're rolling over, they're giving easy outs to the opposing team. And tonight, you really started to see them reap the rewards. It looked like the 2023 Baltimore Orioles. They were getting pitchers out early, they were getting pitch counts up, and they were waiting for a mistake. And we saw guys like Tony, like Jorge Mateo, after a fantastic at bat, get a 3-run home run. That's the stuff I'm seeing. Kevin's getting spammed in the chat. That's what we really talked about. That would help this team is being able to manufacture runs and not just relying on the long ball. And they got 4 runs not from the long ball tonight. So that's what you'd like to see.
Yeah, and even it felt like a little early on too. There was some pressing in the batter's box, but then you see Tony Taters get a little bit back on track there with the solo homer. And look, if you're gonna hit homers, I mean, obviously they had bases loaded. It's like, all right, come on, let's get some runs in, And then of course Tony hits the solo, and you're like, if you hit these homers, just get some guys on base. Just hit a 2-run shot, hit a 3-run shot. And Jorge Mateo obviously broke the trend of solo or one homer where it's a solo, then another one where you don't get as much. So it was good to see the Orioles finally get back into that groove a little bit. And again, we're separating, so we're not talking about the monstrosity end to that game. But this is, I think, a big night for the offense, because sometimes it just takes something like this where, even though we know, look, the White Sox probably are not going to be in the playoffs. I think it's pretty safe to say not a playoff team this year. Sometimes you just need a little reset, and that's not like you can't take the White Sox. It's like, oh, that's an easy sweep. You can't do that. We almost saw them lose this game. But sometimes some sort of a reset is necessary, especially after what happened in St. Louis and after all that happened with some of the inconsistencies we've seen with this offense. So what I've said all year is, even though Grayson was a little erratic in terms of location tonight with the walks, still didn't 2 runs is fine, right? That's fine. I know he let some guys on base, but starting pitching for the most part all season has been consistent. It's been the offense and the bullpen that have had their ups and downs and ebbs and flows, and we certainly saw that tonight. But at least we saw the offense get a little bit back on track, and hopefully they can continue that into tomorrow and the rest of the series.
Yeah, and I guess it's time to sort of get into it at this point, because I'm not going to lie, Kevin, halfway through that ninth inning, all I kept thinking was, Orioles Twitter is actually going to burn this city down. I was like, this is it. I was like, it's over. When they got the tying run up to bat, Gavin Sheets, I think Rocco put it in the chat. He was like, Gavin Sheets has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever. And it would not have
so true. So
it would not have been funny, but it would have been funny at the same time. Yeah, I know people are questioning why Brandon Hyde Heasley back in for the ninth. Listen, it's at the time it's a 6-run game. They are just trying to get out using only 3 relievers. Coulomb comes in, dog. God, Coulomb was disgusting.
Unbelievable.
Disgusting tonight. Look at disgusting. It was gross. It was gross. Webb comes in, gets the job done. Heasley, obviously, the wheels fell apart. He looked like he's an arm right now. That's how they see him. They simply brought him up to replace Means for this situation because they were hoping they would get into a blowout where they could just go out there and toss him for 2 innings and get him to just save the bullpen, save other guys. That's not how it happened. 4 runs. 4 runs in the 9th inning. The tying run at first base when it was all said and done. And I think I saw Q put it up here a few minutes ago. But what was even crazier about the interference call was 2 umps called it. Like, it was very interesting. Like, it wasn't one of those situations where they just continued playing. Then one ump was like, wait a second, like, no, that was interference. Almost immediately, like, the entire umpiring crew was just like, looked at each other like, oh yeah, no, like, the game's over. And like, Orioles players, I loved Orioles players' reaction, especially Adley. They didn't question crap. They didn't question shit. They just were like, we got it. Okay. They heard the ump say ball game, and they were like, okay, high fives. They were like, if we get out of here, they can't have us come back. It was truly one of those.
It's almost like those those buzzer beaters in the NBAs where they just sprint off the court. They say, "You're not getting us back out on the court. You're not getting us back out on the field. We're done here." You said it, but I guess it was like Gunner's not gonna run through the guy because that's gonna just make it all crazy. Or was it chirping or was it Gunner not having clear path? Did we ever get confirmation
not having
on what
clear
it was?
path. So yeah, he had to avoid the runner, and the runner has to give.
It just it didn't, like, if we're being honest and objective about the situation, it didn't really look like Vaughn was doing, like, he was walking back to the base. And yes, Gunner had to take a path around him, but like, that's a natural baseball move. But you know what? I'll take it. You'll take it. We'll all take it. So whatever. The Orioles won the game.
Yeah, actually, I saw this comment up here that I wanted to get to. Where is it? Oh, right here. So saw something earlier. Just moved to Baltimore, San Francisco fan, and saying anything big I should know about the O's. Don't want it to be too noticeable. I'm a new fan. Sounding like bullpen is rough this season. Bullpen has been hit or miss. With the same thing as we kind of just said with the starting lineup. There are star players. The Orioles rely a lot on the home run ball. They are a team that gets a lot of runs with the home run ball. Tonight was a great sign because they started working counts more and getting on base and actually manufacturing runs. This is the bullpen's at the point where sometimes they come in and you're like Danny Coulomb. You're like, oh, wow, here we go. Like, this is just dominance, like disgusting. And then you get times where the bullpen comes in and you're like, can we please just find a way to get an out? I am not Ryan. I appreciate it, but Ryan.
Oh, you had. I gave you such an opportunity to run with it, and you didn't take it. You did not
I just can't.
I am so disappointed.
No, I don't want to be Ryan. I don't want to be Ryan.
Why, you got something against Ryan?
Yeah, it's the Zach Bollinger show. Okay, we got to start. We're starting to run. Actually, before it was fine. Before you got here, Kevin, that was like every other comment was like, "Did Ryan approve this?"
I don't think he did, but like, whatever. This was
the way I said it was. I said we didn't get a no. I said we didn't get a no.
Yeah, this was Rocco. So what my feeling is with this whole thing, Zach, is Rocco was really trying to push post-game streams, and I like the idea. I like it. So everybody who's watching or listening in chat, if you're watching FFX, you can put it in the comments. Would you like us to go live more after the Orioles play, after the games? It doesn't have to be a big walk-off win or a terrible loss or a crazy thing like this. But would you like to see us, whether it's Zach or me or Rocco or Ryan or whoever, Brad? We're all thickos on this show. We all have weird sleep schedules. I think I kind of take the crown on that, and
Yeah,
in terms of
without a doubt.
everything. So whether that would be multiple times a week after every single game, I don't know how we would do it, but if it is something you would like to see, just put yes or no in the comments, and we'll kind of evaluate from there. Because Rocco really, I think, is pushing this idea, and I like it a lot. But
Yeah.
obviously, we want to feel it out a little bit. So this wasn't a walk off win, not an end of the series win. I mean, it was a walk off ump win, if we're being honest. But I think it'd be a good idea. So
Yeah.
we'll
I was saying,
see.
hey, no worries that I saw you say you went off on Shoney. You were set up for failure. Yes, usually Ryan is here running the show, but we kind of just went off without him tonight because we wanted to recap this. So we did set you up for failure, but we love having you here. Appreciate it. Let's see.
Q, thank you.
To keep the Zach Vonder show in the air. Thank you. Hey, appreciate you, Cube. Cube, solid ass dude. Fucking, drank a beer with Cube. 10 out of 10 experience. Cube's the man. Appreciate you, Cube.
Yeah.
And yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the guy I would talk about, Craig Kimbrell, because Craig Kimbrell, yes, we only saw a few. What? How many pitches did he throw? 2. We saw 2 pitches from Craig Kimbrell. But he came in with confidence. He came in and he had that look in his eye that, like, I'm striking the side out. Like, he was almost upset that he popped it up. Like, there was something about the way Craig Kimbrell went in there, and I saw someone up here say it, so I'm going to kind of quote you. So if you said this in the comments, let me know. But it's almost like you wanted to just see him strike out the last guy. Like, he just – yep. Hey, 2 pitches, 2 outs. And I don't know how we got the 2 outs still. I don't think I just want to know what people in the stadium thought, because obviously being at home watching on TV, like, the announcers were like, "Oh, it's being called interference. Why is that?" If you're in the stadium, he popped it up and then everyone just walked off. Like, what went there? Like,
I mean, I would do it. If I was on the Orioles and that call happened, you have no idea what's going on. You see, the score hit final on the score. I'm walking off. I'm like, okay, get
yeah.
The way that game was going, just get me off that field. Like,
Kimbrell made the runner's interference happen just how we drew it up. It's just how we drew it up. I was telling Kevin, I don't know if you saw the thumbnail, but it says like they got their swagger back. And I was telling everyone, I was like, I promise I made this in like the 8th inning. Like, this was not throwing. I was sitting there and I was like, do I remake this? And I was like, nah, we're keeping the vibes. It's like, got the swagger back. That was the most stressful. Just like, I don't know how to word it. It was the most unnecessarily stressful way to end that game. Like, there was no reason with a 6-run lead in the 9th that we needed to have the go-ahead run at the plate. Like, no way was that needed. And then it's just poetic that it kind of ended like after everything that went wrong yesterday for the Orioles. That's just why I kept saying I was like, the baseball gods gave us one back, because we had the inside the park home run. We had the SETI double up. We just had just so much crap went wrong in that St. Louis. Sorry, I got an NFL team right there. So much went wrong in St. Louis that I legitimately, like, when they were like, ball game's over, I was like, we take it. Like, we're good. Yeah. We move. Like, there was no hesitation. There was nothing. I felt like I was one of the players. I was like, we're out. We're out.
Yeah. It's one of those things where the reason, I mean, it was stressful anyway, regardless of, the Orioles and how they had played and what their status was, win or lose, whatever. But it was so much more stressful because it felt like a game. And you mentioned with the thumbnail, it's like, okay, the offense got the swagger back, feeling good. Grayson obviously only gave up the 2. And then it's just like an utter implosion. And you're like, if they lose this game, how is this going to impact them? Is it like, all right, well, we really can't buy one now? And like, are they pressing even more? And does it take away the momentum they got throughout the course of the first 8 innings? So that's, I think, to me, why it felt so stressful. Obviously,
Mhm.
you want to win the game, and that's the most important thing. But it's not just about the immediate, it's also about short term and long term. And I was just thinking, like, man, if if they can't get this done, like, how can they, like, what is it going to take for them to win a game? Like, can there just be a normal, and we're still going to be asking this question now, can they just win a normal game? This was not a normal game because of what happened in the ninth inning. And I'm very glad they came out with the win. I think that you can just say, you know what? You cannot just say flush it. Take the positives from the first 8 innings and flush the rest of it and say, get them tomorrow. They're not going to get swept again. We now know that, thanks to the umpires. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was stressful all the way around.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff about Brandon Hyde on the internet of what was he doing leaving Heasley out there. Spirit Bomb put it perfectly. People would have been so upset at Hyde if he had used a Cano or a Kimbrel up by 6 to start the ninth inning. People have been
Right.
like, classic Hyde. He's overusing the bullpen. He can't do this. It's like, what can Hyde do to win right now? Like, do you get what I mean? Like, if
Yeah.
if he puts in Kimbrel or Cano in that situation in the ninth, everyone's like, Hyde doesn't know how to manage a bullpen. He's overusing guys. Then he keeps the guys in. He blows up. He has to use those guys anyway, and everyone's like, classic Hyde using way too many guys in the bullpen at the end. It's like, what are we doing? It's like, this is not on Brandon Hyde. This is Brandon Hyde made the right decision, but sometimes the right decision ends up almost losing you a game because, well, shit hit the fan.
It's a situation too where, Zach, we're only a couple days away, well, about a week away from June, and we all know what's coming up in June with them only having one off day, having to play a gauntlet of teams. You want to have your high leverage guys as well rested as you can while still getting them enough work. And to me, it's a situation where you have to be of the mindset where this bullpen already has had questions about its usage and how guys are being overused. And, I know Mike Baumann isn't in Baltimore anymore, but I think that was one of the guys, especially early on, where it's like Hyde just goes to him with all these situations, regardless of what happens. I see Justin with the file. I'll
Yeah,
pause
and he did
to,
say right after night, "I'm out, y'all." So I wanted to clap
all
for him.
right.
Hopefully he saw this before he went out.
Yes.
Justin, appreciate you all the time. Uh, you're the man, dude. You really are.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that. So continue.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that there were already questions about the bullpen's overusage, and if it was a 3-run game, obviously, yeah, you put in your high leverage guy, even like you can make that case. And maybe you want to get spicy with 4, maybe if you want to get spicy there. But this was a 6-run game; it shouldn't have gotten to the point where it was. And if Heasley gets out of it with 1 run or none, people are saying, "Oh, good, they didn't put in a high leverage guy." That's how it happened. The game didn't happen the way it was supposed to, and that's why there's all the. I mean, it would have been so ideal if they didn't have to use the guys they did in the ninth. I mean, you get out of that game unscathed. You don't have to use these guys in the bullpen. You get to reset for tomorrow, but it didn't happen that way, and I don't know, I'm still kind of processing what happened, to be honest.
I am too, and stars need to be more efficient so they can go deeper into games. Yeah, I agree.
Sure,
Obviously,
sure.
that's what you hope for. And during this stretch, Orioles are in the midst of 43 games in a 45-day stretch. That is not a lot. They're going to need to figure out, like you said, the arms are going to have to go deeper into games. And obviously, Grayson Rodriguez being a younger arm, he's not a guy that they're going to push if he's not having his best stuff. They're not going to tell him, hey, go out there no matter what. You're throwing 100 pitches, even especially since this is his second start back from that IL trip. Corbin Burns tomorrow, I would not be surprised if he's good to go if they go out there and have him throw 110 pitches tomorrow because the bullpen's going to need it. And if Burns is on his game, against a weaker, knock on wood. I know what happened last time we said we were playing a weaker team. You can hope that Corbin Burns gives you 6 or 7 innings. And if Corbin Burns can give you 7 solid tomorrow, then you're feeling a lot better.
Right. I mean, even while you're finding those starts that are 5 innings, 6 innings, if they can stretch those to 6 or 7, even just get an extra inning out of these guys,
Yeah.
it will make a world of difference for the rest in the bullpen. And again, especially with the June they have, especially as we get deeper into the season and guys are pitching, you want to be fresh. We all hope, and I mean, obviously, we know this is probably, hopefully, going to be a playoff team, right? When it's all said and
Yeah.
done come October. But in order to get there, you have to make sure that you're not overusing guys. Absolutely, like you're not overusing them to the point where it might become a problem down the road. And again, extending those 5 or 6 inning starts to 6 or 7, even an extra inning, is a big deal.
Yeah, and wanted to answer this question for Mike real quick. Suarez actually pitched yesterday, so I'm sure that's why, even though he only threw 11 pitches, I'm sure that's why they'd rather just have Coulomb, who hadn't pitched in a while, try to get him some work. I'm trying to go through, seeing a lot of call up Dylan Tate. Completely agree. Didn't really understand why it was sent. Well, I understood why it was sent down the first time. It was so that they could maneuver the roster without DFAing anyone. But yeah, Dylan Tate's a guy that kind of gets forgotten about. When he's healthy, is one of the top arms for this Orioles bullpen and someone that they can rely on in the 7th, 8th, even 9th inning when he's on. So I think he is a guy that really will come up in the next. I could see it. If it's not this series, I could see it being next series when they are back in Baltimore for Boston. So I could see it happening then when they come home, but I would definitely expect Dylan Tate to come up soon. I know a lot of people are talking about Chase McDermott, Cade Povich. I'm 50-50 on, well, I guess Cade Povich would be the guy that mostly would get brought up. I want Cade Povich up so badly, but I also don't. If they're going to bring Cade Povich up to go to the bullpen, I don't want that. I don't want that impacting his, because I think he can be next year the 4th or 5th starter, very good starter on this Orioles team. And I don't want to hurt his development by sending him to the bullpen just to sit out there and try to get used in blowouts and stuff like that. So interesting to see that. I could see maybe a Chase McDermott down the line getting sent to the bullpen to see what happens. But even there, I don't think the Orioles will want to do that until later in the season, where they've already gotten their work as a starter and it's more just taking care of trying to win games.
Right. And I saw, where is it? Here we go. Everybody loves talking about trades, Zach. I think it's one of the premier topics. I know it's early still. I know we're seeing some trades happen throughout the league so far, but Dilly asking, do we think we're going to trade for some pitching? Sorry if you already covered, just joined. Appreciate you joining, by the way, Dilly.
Yeah.
But I think you and I are both in agreement here, Zach, that at some point they will make a move. I don't think it's right now. I think we're going to probably wait a month or two before we see that. Maybe it'll be their trade deadline acquisition. But even though they do have some depth bullpen wise, I mean, obviously, I think it, even with the Bauman DFA trade, probably makes it even more likely because they don't have that option anymore. Again, we talked about Dylan Tate and a couple other guys, but you don't want to make the move too early. And Ryan talked about this, and we talked about it today on our stream earlier at noon, that what if an injury happens and you move on from a prospect, you move on from a couple guys at a positional group, and then a guy goes down? Let's say, they have a ton of depth in the outfield, but some guys are struggling. What if they move on? I'm not saying it's going to be a Kjerstad level acquisition where you send out a guy like that. And I know Joe's probably going to be mad at me in the comments for even talking about the potential of trading Kjerstad. But if you move on from one of your AAA outfielders or a good prospect, and then someone goes down, or you trade a starter and another starter goes down, and you trade that for bullpen help, you don't have that option. Now, I still think the Orioles will probably make a move. I'm not saying it's going to be tomorrow. It'll probably have to be a month or two down the line. But I'm not expecting like a Mason Miller type of acquisition. I'd love it. I would I would love nothing more than Mason Miller to come to Baltimore and be a huge part of Baltimore's bullpen. But I would probably expect more of a middle inning reliever to early, late inning reliever. You could make an argument for a closer if the stuff with Kimbrel, they want to move him around continuously, and if the confidence level still isn't there by the time we're talking in a couple of months, then we can reevaluate there. But at this point, I think the plan for the Orioles is to get Kimbrel back into that role at some level, and maybe use a couple of others if needed, and then trade for a middle inning guy. What do you think about that, Zach?
Yeah. Well, first we see what Joe, as expected, what he thinks of.
I'm sorry, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. I think people like the idea of a Mason Miller. They love the idea of a Mason Miller. But I don't think people want to live through what would need to happen with the Orioles bullpen for Mike Elias and company to say, we need to go give up our top guys to go get a closer. The bullpen would have to be bad. The Jorge Lopez, I believe, is in the Mets organization, actually.
Yeah, I think
So,
so.
yeah.
Speaking of Kapovich.
They have him and Fuji. Maybe Fuji makes a return.
Wow.
Everyone knows.
Yeah, and there are multiple Orioles in the former guys in the Seattle bullpen now. Crazy. Orioles reunions
wild.
all over the place.
For real. But I do think that there is going to be a trade. It's inevitable. And there's already been reports, I believe, from Bob Nightingale a few weeks ago that the Orioles have already started making phone calls, just gauging interest, seeing what teams are looking to do as the trade deadline slowly approaches. I say slowly like that because it is still 2 months away. This is not something that is going to be, like you said, Kevin. I doubt something is done in the next month even. This is going to be early July. I could see being the late June, early July. If they think they have a really good deal for someone, I could see them making it then. It might not be a splash. And I like you said, I doubt it is a splash. I doubt it's the Mason Millers, the Helsleys, the Presleys. It's going to probably be for a guy that is sitting in a non-contenders bullpen, not Mason Miller, because he's a rookie. People don't understand that. Like, he's a rookie. Like, he has an insane, his value is unreal right now. So I just don't see a trade as much as I would love to have Mason Miller, because I saw someone talk about the Mason Miller and Felix Bautista in 2025. Chills just thinking about it. I would love it, but like, realistically, I don't see that happening. It's going to be something where I think it's a guy that's sitting in the 7th, 8th inning role of a losing team right now. Might not even be a non-competitive team's closer, but I think they do make a deal because they understand that time's running out. Not time's running out, but they understand that the window is open and that these aren't teams that you just go, oh, if we win it, we win it. That'd be cool, but we're focusing on other years. Because I think there was still sort of that last year. Like, last year was, oh, this is so dope that we're like a 101 win team. We weren't really expecting to take this massive jump yet. So we're going to go for a Jack Flaherty. We're going to talk with the White Sox for Dylan Cease. We're going to go do our homework on these guys, but we're not going all in if we don't have to, if we don't get the prices we want, because there is such a wide open window. Now I think they're in that spot where they're like, we can win it all. This is a team that can win it all. Where is that missing puzzle piece? I've even seen some guys talk about getting a middle of the order bat. I personally don't see it, just because like, if the offense is struggling, yes, but we already have enough trouble fitting guys in as it is. Like, I don't want to be giving up prospects for now. If I've seen people say when the Astros were struggling, Kyle Tucker, if you gave up the house for Kyle Tucker, I'm okay with that because he's having a special MVP type season. But I don't see those guys being available.
Yeah, and even if you want to talk about the bats, I mean, if you're trading, like, let's say they go out and trade for a utility guy or like a 4th, 5th outfielder type, they have so many of those guys. Or, I mean, at that point, you're just blocking prospects. I mean, there's already conversation now with the guys they have about, you need to find a bats for Kjerstad, you need to find a bats for Stowers. When's Mayo going to factor into the equation? Obviously, when Jackson comes back, what's that going to look like? So to me, I think the focus should definitely be on pitching for the Orioles. And I mean, then he's like, okay, what about a starter? Well, I mean, we talked about Povich. I think he's good enough to come up at some point. But again, he's not going to come up if people are healthy because they were already trying to run a 6-man rotation when everybody was healthy, and that's not even factoring in Tyler Wells, who I thought whenever that situation resolves itself, I think he can come back and be placed in that bullpen as a high leverage guy. But we don't know what's going to happen there. So it's about timely moves. The move for Corbin Burnes for Mike Elias and company was timely, right before the season, getting him acclimated with everything. And it's still Ryan's favorite thing to talk about, how Burnes had a terrible spring training. And he's like, oh, well, Burnes, he was awful. He's terrible because he had a bad spring training. But I think you just have to evaluate still. We're still in the evaluation period. And this is what Ryan says, so I'll echo it for him since he's not here, is once we get to June, then we can start to fully evaluate. And I say this even for football, for Locked On Ravens and for the Ravens. It's like trends become trends when it's been a long time.
Yeah.
If you react in the first month or the first month and a half and you say this is the absolute for this team, even though the baseball season is a lot longer than football season, you can't evaluate it all off of that. Plus, you have to extend that for baseball season because the baseball season is 162 games and football is only 17. So once we get to June, trends become trends. If the bullpen is still inconsistent by the time we hit June, which is only in about a week now, that is a trend. If the offense still is not hitting with runners in scoring position efficiently and consistently, that is a trend. So we'll start to evaluate there. And I think for the Orioles, they're not going to go out there and make a quote-unquote panic move. I think it's going to be more of a calculated, hey, we need this type of reliever if they go that route. And they still have a long time to do so. So I know that people, they want to see some guys traded away, DFA'd, whatever it may be. But I still think we have a little while to go before a move like that is made. And maybe it happens with an injury, maybe it happens with a trade. But yeah, it's at least they won the game tonight.
Exactly. I'm seeing people talk about Brian specifically with trading for rentals versus non-rentals. I don't think the Orioles, I think everyone right now that they would look to acquire, if they were a rental, would be a guy that they would like to re-sign, especially if it's a bullpen piece, because they are potentially losing Craig Kimbrell if they don't pick up the option. We don't know what Felix Bautista looks like, stuff like that. So I think preferably the Orioles would get a guy with, I know I just said they won't go get a top guy. I would love Ryan Helsley from the St. Louis Cardinals just because he has that extra year under his contract. We'd have him for this year and next year. And like if you're making a move for one of those top guys, without a doubt, I agree. You want a guy with an extra year or two. But overall, I think they make a move for a guy who's not the biggest splash, but it works.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough, right? Because for the Orioles, when they went out there and got Andrew Miller, everybody knew he was a rental. You trade up Eduardo Rodriguez for him, and you understand the type of player that he is, but you understand that this could be, it's only a 2 or 3 month rental, and you're going for it at that point, right? You trade one of your top prospects away for Andrew Miller, who was an absolute dog for the Orioles. I mean, everywhere he went, he was a dog, but I know it hurt when they ended up losing him to New York, but it's like, those are the types of moves that winning teams make. You try to get the long-term piece, and I think those moves are important, right? It's almost when you're talking about Corbin Burnes, because we know that that's a situation where is he going to resign? Is he not going to resign? He gave up a lot to go get him. Yeah. But those are the types of moves that winning teams make. You go out there, you take swings. If you have belief in your team, you try to plug up as many holes as you can. Now, the good thing about the Orioles is, look, we believe that this window is long. It's not a guarantee, but with the young talent they have, with how loaded their farm system is, I think you and I both believe it, Zach, that the Orioles window is just opening and is going to be open for a very long time. So is there a little bit of leeway to make those moves, a little more than a team that might only have 1 or 2 years left? Yeah, I think so. But if you're going for it, you have to go for it, right? You can't make one like, oh, this is kind of an all-in move and then not make another move. I mean, the Orioles went for it with Corbin Burnes. I think you should just pair that up, right? Does that mean trading the entire farm system for somebody? Probably wouldn't go that far. But if you can make another high-impact move at the trade deadline or right before the trade deadline, your farm system is so clogged up right now. That's a very good problem to have, by the way. Something that every team would love to have the Orioles. They can go prospect for prospect with anybody. I've been saying that for a long time.
Legitimately.
So if they want somebody, they can go get somebody. but they're going to have to want to go get somebody. And I think that's the question everybody's asking right now is who is that player going to be and when or if is a move going to happen like that?
Yeah, and obviously there's all these types of questions about what is new ownership, what's their philosophy with re-signing guys, are they going to be big spenders, are they not going to be big spenders? So that also all we don't know all of those answers right now. Maybe Mike Elias knows that. Maybe Elias is getting the okay from Rubenstein and company saying, "Hey, you go get those guys, we're going to pay them." So you don't know those conversations. But before we head out of here, Kevin, any final thoughts on today? I just saw actually on Twitter that Ryan Helsley tonight gave up as many runs as Zach Britton did in his entire 2016 outing. So kind of impressive.
Wow. Yeah, I also saw what Mason Miller melted down. I saw in the chat tonight. I didn't see that. So,
I'm gonna have to.
Apparently, the A's won.
Yeah.
Who commented that? I'm trying to.
It was versus the Rockies.
Mackey commented Mason Miller meltdown.
1 2/3, 3 hits, 3 earned runs. He's a bum, man. He's a bum.
Trade him to the Orioles. Trade him to the Orioles.
We'll give you.
But no, I think.
For him.
Yeah, At the end of the day, they got the win. Everybody can be happy about that. I understand not being happy about how they got the win. I mean, the offense looked better. I think that is the main takeaway for me. I mean, the bullpen, it's almost like there's so much inconsistency for the offense and the bullpen. It's like the starting pitching is just sapping all of the consistency away from those two units. But luckily, we saw them hit a little better with runners in scoring position. And I mean, doing this was fun. Just a random Thursday first game of a series going live. So again, if you like this, if you like us going live after Orioles games, maybe we'll do it more often, right? Go a couple times a week, maybe after every game. We're feeling spicy, right? I think I'm down to do it, man. If you want to be a sicko with me,
that's what I'm saying. It's one of those things where if you guys want it to happen, if you guys, good and bad will be here. If you guys want this to happen, we can definitely make it happen. We'll post game. Might not always be the longest, but I think it's something that we all everyone, it's therapeutic after the good and bad. So if you guys enjoy this,
I don't think there is something like that. I feel like people might have been looking for just not, like a live stream. I'm sure there are them out there. I'm not saying that we'd be the only one, but for us, it'd be another way to expand our content. And as Joe already has a name for us, the Zach and Kevin Prom. So if you would like to see the Zach and Kevin Prom meeting, we go live after every single Orioles game, then maybe we have to do it. So I gotta, now I get the pleasure of in about 5 or so minutes. I actually have to text them recording Locked On Ravens with Rocco. We do. I let Rocco on Locked On Ravens every Friday, so we're gonna have a fun time. So Orioles right into Ravens, man. Baltimore sports is buzzing. What can I say?
Absolutely buzzing. So I guess we will wrap up and get out of here so Rocco can go and Aviator Dread as we're heading out. Appreciate you gifted 5.
I just put the name together. Aviator. Look at that.
Oh my!
Thank you. I mean, I knew what it was, but
appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. You're the man, Aviator. So if you're new to the channel, make sure it's that like and subscribe. Who knows? Maybe this becomes a new thing. Me and Kevin going live after the good and bad after the games to kind of break it all down with you guys. But so that'll do it for us. Who knows? We're live Mondays and Thursdays. If you missed today's stream, we were with Gavin Sheets, who DH tonight for the Chicago White Sox, and Brett Hollander earlier today, who is the Masson Orioles broadcaster. I wish we had music to say it, but so have a day, have a night. They did it. Everyone, deep breaths. We don't know how. Sometimes you can't explain it. But the Orioles were in the win column, and that's all that matters. We'll see you guys next time.